Hellman, a professional photographer. We're here today to talk about Cocos. So we thank you for joining our webinar series. This is the 4th or 5th webinar, and you can go to the slide.
Try that. Spacebar.
I'm just going to help us out here.
Small technical difficulty.
So here we are. As I mentioned, today we're going to talk about Cocos, but as you can see, we've got a great schedule of some webinars coming up. Tomorrow, actually, we've got Maldives, and the webinars are just a really great forum for you to learn about dive destinations. They're interactive, so as we talk about these locations, if you have questions at the end, we'll take questions and answer them, and it's just a great way for you to learn about all of these destinations that we can book you to. So go to the next one. So this is brought to you by the Bluewater family of brands, which includes Bluewater Photo, which is where you can get all your underwater photography equipment, the Underwater Photography Guide, an online resource for everything underwater photography, and Bluewater Travel, which is where you can go to book your trip. So before Andy starts talking about Cocos, I just want to quickly mention Bluewater Travel is running a group trip that I will be going on. It's June 27th through July 7th. It is just about the best price you'll ever find for Cocos. It's $3,735. We are going to be seeing lots of great stuff. Andy will be telling you all about it. And it's for those of you who've heard, Cocos can be kind of rough, seasick crossing. It is the best time of year to go for that because you will see big animals at this time, and it's likely to have a milder crossing. So
you're leading the trip, right?
I am going. Yes, I'm leading the trip. I will be on the trip, and I would love to have you on the trip. There are 2 spots left. So to fill these last couple of spots, we're offering a special discounted price. It's $37.35. So I'm going to let Andy take over and tell you all about Cocos and what you will see there and what makes it so great.
Okay.
And Scott's going to fill in for me.
Scott and Katie. Hey, Andy.
How's it going, Scott?
It's going good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. I'm Scott Geitler, owner of Bluewater Photo and Bluewater Travel, and let us continue with the slideshow. I'll let Andy talk about Cocos a little.
Okay, thanks, Scott. So a lot of people are probably wondering, and they've heard many different things about Cocos Island, and it is a mysterious place. I mean, pirate treasure and everything, all kinds of stories you can look into.
But an awesome place.
But an awesome place. And you'll find that the real treasure is under the surface there. So people ask me all the time, well, why would I want to go? It's, it's a pretty long journey across on the boat. And the reason is I don't think you can find this diversity and abundance of wildlife anywhere else in the world that I'm aware of. And if there is some place, I definitely want to go there. I want to find out about it. But Cocos for me is a very special place. I call it the pelagic crossroads because almost anything can show up there at any time. There are several species of sharks almost all the time. There are sea turtles, whales, et cetera. And we're going to go into, more and more of that as we go through the slides. We've got a picture show for you of some of the features that you will see marine life-wise at Cocos. So we're also going to talk about when to go, the best time, not just what you'll see. We'll talk about the boats, the liveaboards, because those are going to be your home base for a week. So that's real important, food and accommodations, of course. And then at the end, we'll talk about some travel packages and some special deals that Bluewater Photo has going. And then we'll open it up to Q&A. So let me see if I can hit the mouse in the right place here this time. Oh, okay. So, thank you. No wonder it wasn't going forward. So why visit Cocos? I'm going to use my glasses here as kind of fine text.
Because you can see orcas.
You can see orcas. Yeah, you can see whales, you can see sharks, all kinds of things. But Cocos is really, I think, known, and rightly so, for big animal contacts with divers. The animals there are protected. Cocos itself is a marine reserve, a marine park owned by Costa Rica. and it is staffed by rangers that live there full time. There are whale sharks, schooling hammerheads, white tips, tuna, manta rays, all kinds of sea turtles, hawksbill, green, even leatherback occasionally. And then smaller things like giant frogfish and smaller reef fish and things like that, octopus, squid, what have you. Just anything can show up. We've seen billfish there. The list just goes on. We've seen humpback whales.
And it's consistent because whenever I talk to customers that have been to Cocos, they always are blown away by a lot of stuff. I never had someone come back and say, oh, they haven't seen anything. That's very rare for a destination. Usually some destinations are hot or not. But
that's right.
Every trip someone goes on, they see a lot of big animals, not always the same ones every time. But in the last couple of years, I never had someone say, oh, I went to Cocos and it was okay. Every single person. Yeah. We're talking dozens of people. Like, I was blown away.
Yeah, and there's even times of the year where, like, the hammerhead is so well known for being there that they may not be there and congregate. Excuse me. But there's other things when they're not there. So Cocos always has a surprise in store for you. The guides will tell you when you dive at Cocos, a lot of the dives are a little bit deeper, and they'll be, maybe 35 minutes down the bottom, but they'll tell you the dive does not end at Cocos until you get back to the surface. We've seen so many great things in mid-water while we're just coming up into shallow water off of the seamounts. We've had whale shark encounters, as I mentioned before. Humpback whales have come by, wahoo,
sailfish,
tuna schools, sailfish. So anything can happen at Cocos at any time. So it's the place where you really want to be ready all the time with your cameras. So Cocos is located about 350 miles approximately southwest of Punta Arenas, Costa Rica. Punta Arenas is a small fishing village, but it's one of their largest ports, towns, and that's where you'll basically board the boat.
Should we talk about the dive seasons a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I think that probably your best opening to go for the things I like to see personally, which are a lot of sharks. I'm pretty well known for shark photography. Is somewhere between June and October. That window of time has a lot of variation as far as rainfall. The June-July season is probably best chance for big animal encounters, but August and September can be real good as well, but later in the summer it tends to be more rainy. So if you don't mind a little rain, and I don't, you're going to see a lot more sharks as you move into the summer. June is the opening of the year, and anything can happen. And being a seamount that's so remote, these seasons that we talk about all the time and when to go and what exactly is going to be there, they really can vary with oceanic currents and temperatures, even salinity levels and things like that, and different predator-prey relationships that are occurring all the time. But I think the overall best window is from about June through October. December and May is what they consider the dry season. There's bigger schools of silky sharks, more dolphins, tend to have a little calmer waters, of course, far less rain. A note on the rain in Cocos, it really does come down there. They get 24 feet of rain a year. So the dry season doesn't get the abundance of that.
What's
June and November.
Jurassic Park, some of that was
the opening.
Cocos,
yes,
opening scene.
You're absolutely correct, Scott. The opening scenes for Jurassic Park were filmed at Cocos, so it's a pretty famous place. Visibility averages between 50 and 70 feet. It can be better, of course. It can be a little bit worse, like in our spring this time of year. Sometimes they'll get a turn and a little bit more plankton. Water temperatures. Now, these can really vary.
What should you usually bring?
I always take a 5. I completely recommend you bring a 5 and throw in an old dry suit hood or a hooded vest. If you're cold-blooded and you don't like cold water, throw in a 5 and a hooded vest. If you're warm-blooded, a 5 and a hood probably will suffice for you. But the temperatures can be as high as 80 to 82 degrees and as low as down into the 70s. And at depth, they're going to be a little bit lower. The sharks are generally down deeper in the thermocline area. So one of the funny things is you'll get in the water there and you'll descend to maybe 80 or 90 feet and you'll wait for the sharks to come up, and your foot could be below the thermocline and you feel the difference in temperature of 5 degrees below and above.
I know sometimes you get a visocline where you have really bad visibility right when the temperatures meet, and
it mixes, and you don't want to shoot right in that either.
You don't want to shoot in that. You need to get above or below it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's blurry. So we kind of covered where Cocos is. I think this map shows it a little bit better. It's very remote. It's way out the Costa Rica.
Fly into San Jose, right? And then about 2 hours to Punta Arenas?
Yeah, about a 2-hour bus ride to Punta Arenas. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I think I've got some pictures in here. The bus ride's a lot of fun. Probably run into a guy by the name of Rudy. He transfers almost everybody, regardless of what charter operation you're on.
Costa Rica's fun. I mean, there's just toucans, monkeys. It's anyone that goes to Cocos should spend at least a week in Costa Rica. I've been there 3 times, and it never ceases to amaze me.
It's the whole country is I think it's stated at about 85% national park, and most of the ticos, as they're called, the Costa Ricans, are all into the environment, and they're very into finding life, whether it's terrestrial life in their mainland country or Cocos, and they're always very interested to hear from visitors that have gone to Cocos. Most of them don't have the wherewithal that we have here in the United States, and so they've not been able to visit their own islands, and it's a little bit of a shame, but they're always really willing to listen, and I find that really fun and amazing. You fly into San Jose, not California, San Jose, Costa Rica.
5 hours from LA on a direct flight.
Yeah, about 5 or 6.
Shorter from Miami.
I don't know that I've done the Miami run. I usually go. I live a little south of here, so I usually end up out of San Diego and then Houston and then down from there. But yeah, 5 or 6 hours. So it's not a really long flight. It's not like flying halfway around the world to some of the dive destinations that we visit. The airport is a very modern airport. It's all enclosed. So if it's raining, if you're in the rainy season, it's raining, you won't have to worry about that. You'll walk up a jetway. You'll go through immigration, customs, standard protocols, and they're very friendly. You might get a customs officer asking, why do you have such big bags? And say, well, sir, I'm going diving in Cocos. Okay, great. On the notes here, it says best to arrive 1 to 2 days prior to Liveaboard departure. And I think this really speaks to what Scott was saying before. The country is alive, literally. The ground is too. There are volcanoes. There are active volcanoes you can go and see and watch lava coming down while you're sitting in a hot bath 2 miles away at night. So it's an incredible place, and the jungles are incredible. The beaches are incredible. The whole place is just awesome. So some of the dive sites around Cocos, you'll see that the island is got a very kind of semi-defined north and south side. It obviously has an east and west side too. The south side is where a lot of your diving will be, and a lot of it on the north side. So looking at this map coming from the south, if you went to this little dive flag here called Bajo Alcyon. Alcyon is a famous site. It's named after Jacques Cousteau's ship, the Alcyon. And you work a big U around to the east side, and over here to Dirty Rock and Punta Maria. Those are the sites you're going to get to visit the most often.
It's not a big island, right? It doesn't take that long to go all the way around it.
No, it doesn't. And the big boats won't take you there. They'll come in and they'll stay in one of the 2 bays, Chatham or Wafer Bay, which, by the way, are where the Rangers are stationed as well. So there is some support there. And occasionally you'll see other boats come in, like the Costa Rican Coast Guard comes out and they patrol. They have a 12-mile perimeter around the island where there's no fishing, no take of any kind. Not that doesn't get broken, but they are on patrol and they're watching for those people that are doing that. So those are most of your sites. Probably the highlight sites, although this changes every time I've been there, I swear to God. But Alcyon is definitely a highlight site. It's a little harder to get to. It's going to be a little further away, a little longer boat ride, and it's a deeper site, but it is absolutely spectacular. It's a small seamount that comes up from deep water all around it. It's going to be
a lot of great shark sightings and photos from that site.
Sharks, yeah. That's where you really see the big school hammerheads generally. And then the last time I went, which was 2 years ago, I think it was my 7th or 8th trip. I kind of lost count. One of the main little island sites called Manuelita was where everything was happening, and I'd never seen it like that before. The hammerheads were all over the place at Manuelita, along with tiger sharks, sea turtles, mobula rays. We even saw manta out there. Everything was happening at Manuelita. So it moves around the island.
Maybe their food source moved over there.
Maybe the food source, who knows? The tiger shark's food source was certainly there because we saw a lot of turtles, and they were looking a little more skittish. But to see the tiger sharks are very bold.
I thought anything could be a tiger shark food source.
Pretty much. Although I don't know if you've seen that recent video of the orcas coming into Cocos and attacking tiger sharks.
I did.
I never felt sorry for a tiger shark before, but oh my God, I felt sorry for that one. So
wow, those hammerheads are like right in your face because that's a wide angle lens.
Yes, and these were right in my face.
They cleaning station probably.
They buzzed right over the top of us, and this was at Manuelita. And they went inshore. They came from offshore, went inshore, turned around, and came back. So we got a second attempt at them.
If you want to get low, get close, and shoot up just like you did.
Always. That's going to be the best. The water there, especially in the rainier season. June isn't so rainy when Katie's leading that trip, but I think there's another trip later in November that's going to be a little rainier. So the water can be a little dark at times. So being able to get low and shoot up is a big plus.
Whale sharks.
Whale
I see in the captain's reports a lot of whale shark sightings. They'll just come and go. It seems like on
they're
at
amazing.
least half the trips.
And they'll dive with you. They'll stay with you. I've never seen whale sharks so friendly to scuba divers underwater. I have a story I got to tell. We wrote it up when we wrote a magazine article.
This doesn't involve you riding a whale shark.
No, nothing of the sort. But we were at Alcyon and we were starting to come up. Slowly divers were moving. I had come up early, which is not characteristic for me. But the divers were still looking out for the hammerheads off into the distance down the bottom. I could see them. I came up at about mid-water, and a whale shark came up right near the buoy line, the anchor line that you come up. And I'm screaming. I'm on a rebreather, so you can hear through a rebreather a little bit better when someone's yelling through it. And no one ever saw it. And this whale shark and I spiraled around for a good 20 minutes over the rest of the divers until they finally realized what was going on and came up. And by the time they did, I had all pictures I wanted, and then they came in and played around with it for a while.
When you're at a place like Cocos, you always need to be looking around. Down, up, you don't know.
The only thing that'll save you if you're not paying attention are the guides.
Right.
The guides are first class. They'll spot it. They'll tap on their tank. You'll look around and go, wow, where did that come from? Huge schools of horseye jacks. These are the largest schools of horseye jacks I've seen anywhere. I've been to the Solomon Islands and all throughout Raja Ampat and Indonesia, Komodo, et cetera, and I've seen large schools of horseye jacks.
Good reason to bring a fisheye lens, right?
You can
because they're not scared of you, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And you don't need to be on a rebreather for these guys. It's not going to help you get any closer. They'll swim right around you and just swirl all over you. The photo opportunities are endless. You can sit in a school of jacks near the end of one of your deeper shark dives, and they'll be up at 40 feet of water, so you can imagine your air is going much slower up there. You've got more bottom time, so it's a great opportunity. The sea turtles are there, of course, greens and hawksbills primarily. You'll see them laying around on the bottom quite often. They'll actually approach divers sometimes, as long as you are patient and don't start to chase them. So you can get frontal shots like this one very easily. They'll swim right up, see a reflection of themselves in the dome port, and there you go. You've got the shot.
It's happened to me before.
They're also very large stingrays. They're called southern stingrays. These guys are probably
like 6 feet, right?
Yeah, they can. I mean, most of the ones you see are going to be 3 and 4 feet across, but they're big. So, and they're not too skittish. You can find them laying out in the sand at dive sites like Manuelita. And then on the seamounts, the funny thing with these guys is they swim around in kind of a circular pattern, and it reminds me of airliners in a holding pattern at different levels. And they'll swim almost right into each other sometimes. If you watch them carefully, you can swim down in front of them and get a quick shot, and they'll just swim around you and then move on. So they're a lot of fun. And there are lots of eagle rays there too. Eagle rays are a pretty skittish animal usually, but I've had the best encounters with eagle rays I've ever had anywhere in the world, bar none at Cocos. And I've had them practically swim right into me. So that's always a real exciting thing as well.
I love eagle rays.
I do too. I like them almost better than mantas. I mean, mantas, that's pretty hard to replace, but eagle rays,
they're a lot more photogenic. I mean, you get those spots.
Exactly. And sometimes they're flying in formation, so you get that, and it's.
I had 2 right in front of me in Fakarava last year, and
they're hard to beat. They're really hard to beat. Then there's this ugly looking thing. This is
the
red-lip batfish. And you're going to look at this, and you're going to look at the pictures from Galapagos and pictures from the Bahamas and all over the place. These things are worldwide. They're cosmopolitan animals.
They're deep, right?
They're fairly deep, but you can get them at Cocos at 60, 70 feet, so you've got more bottom time. They're a little hard to find. They camouflage pretty well, but they're worth a dive. This particular species is endemic to Cocos. So this is the only place that this one is found now. I'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between this one and the ones that I saw in Galapagos, but they are different species, and so they tell me. So they're cool. So
they're not running away from you.
Well, they can if you really scare them, but they'll usually stay for a picture or two. You do need to bring a macro lens to Cocos. So those of you that thought it was going to be all wide angle, if you want pictures of red-lip batfish, rosy-lip batfish, whatever you like to call them.
Well, they're big enough, I think, for a fish eye.
But they like to stay away from you. Yeah, they're big enough for a fish eye, but boy, I've never been able to get a dome port that close. I've tried, and they'll turn and run. So I actually like using either a 60 macro or a 100 macro for these guys, and it's worked out.
Face only a mother can love.
Oh my God, that's the truth. Also, there are frogfish in Cocos. We, for a long time, had two very large red ones that were together. Didn't see them the last time I was there, but I'm sure they're still around hiding somewhere looking like a rock. But what was fun was we went down one of the moorings at Manuelita again, and there was what appeared to me to be a mother, a big black one, and 4 or 5 little ones right next to it. Maybe it's the father. I don't know who was in charge that day, but one of them jumped right up onto the mouthpiece of my rebreather, and friends got pictures of this little baby frogfish looking eye to eye with me. So the frogfish are definitely there. These are Commerson's frogfish.
I like frogfish, but I think I'll leave my macro lens at home for Cocos.
Oh, it's a mistake. But
when your macro lens is on, that's when that whale shark or tiger shark or orca is going to come right at your face.
Well, naturally. That's why we want you to bring yours, so everybody else can get that whale shark. There's also a lot of octopus and the Spanish hogfish, also known as the lined hogfish. So there's endless opportunities for someone with a macro or just as kind of a standard zoom lens to take fish pictures. So it's not just all about sharks. And then there's the scallop hammerhead shark, of course. And these guys and girls are there to get cleaned. If you look carefully at this picture, just near the gills, you'll see a little fish in there. And that's one of the butterfly fish, cleaner fish, right. And the name right at the moment is escaping me, but.
Just remind me, the thing to do is to breathe loudly and chase them, right?
Oh yeah. The more you do that, the more the rest of your
and everyone loves you. The rest of the group will really love you.
They'll have some special words for you when you get back to the boat, and probably a keel hauling, if not a flogging. So this little cleaner fish. Usually will sit at certain stations. The guides will tell you where the stations are in the briefings. So you'll kind of have an idea where they're at, but be careful because you'll descend down and then they'll be tapping their tank going, hey, you're right in the middle of the cleaning station. You look around to the right and left of you and you'll see 4 or 5 of these cleaners. And if you're right in the middle of the cleaning station, the hammerheads aren't going to come in. That's bad. So you need to move away from the cleaning station 5, 6, 7 feet and wait for the hammerheads to come in. Now that's a little far for most underwater photography, but that's okay. Once they come in and they start getting cleaned, they'll change their attitude completely. Literally change their attitude. They'll come nose up, and they'll change their attitude about being very, very skittish. As long as you're patient and you're quiet, you can then start to move in and get pictures of these guys.
The nice thing about Cocos is there are hammerheads in Malpelo, Galapagos, Socorro, but really Cocos is the only place I see the reliable cleaning stations where you can wait and they come close.
That's pretty true. Malpelo is off and on. I mean, Malpelo can be good. I've been on a few trips down there. I've been to Galapagos a few times. And I agree. The hammerheads are, I mean, this is not a zoo, so they're not guaranteed, but boy, this is the best place to go and see large schools of hammerheads in the world that I'm aware of. And they're protected there too, so keep that in mind. That's an important theme. You might notice this one's got a little hook over on the right side of its mouth too. So those fishermen are out there. They know Cocos is a very productive place for them. Then there's the night dive. And the night dive is a bit chaotic, and it is mostly chaotic due to the white tip reef sharks, which
Some people will skip this dive, right?
Some,
It's a little frenzy.
yeah, I've been bitten twice in this dive, not badly, just nipped because I got in the way. What the guys will tell you is don't sink down into where the sharks are. Well, I got, too busy with my camera, and honestly, I did it kind of intentionally because I wanted to get that low angle. And, I got snapped for it right in the butt. It didn't hurt. It wasn't any big deal. It was kind of an eye-opening. And of course, then I started listening to the guys' briefings more carefully and doing what they told me to do.
Now you have a story to tell.
Now I have a stupid story to tell. I was bitten by a white-tipped reef
in
shark.
the butt.
Yeah, death-defying act that was. But these are fabulous dives. They're not for everyone, as Scott said, but they bring down some bright lights, and you kind of become a fish hitman, because if you point your light at any fish that's out,
It's gone.
they pick it up, and 40 or 50 of them converge on it, and it doesn't have much of a chance unless you shut the light off real quick and they can't see it. So there's a lot of bumping going on in the night on the night dive, so make sure you stay up off the bottom. And then there's the tiger sharks. The tiger sharks in Cocos are some of the cleanest and most beautiful sharks, tiger sharks that I've seen anywhere. I've dove with them in many, many places. I've had a lot of experiences with tiger sharks, and these are very bold as well. They're not.
They've been seen a lot more lately.
Oh yeah,
more frequently.
The last few
couple
years. Yeah, the last few years they're just all around Manuelita, and I have noticed a few less turtles. So I think that may be why they're there. But this one, for instance, swam right in between 3 or 4 divers on either side of him and didn't think anything of it, and gave us a wonderful photo opportunity.
Yeah, many of my friends have if you can swim fast, you can keep up with them.
Yeah.
And but you have to be in shape. They move along, but
yeah, he was cruising pretty good. I'm always hopeful that they'll turn back around, but if you can get in front of them, that's great. And I wouldn't, a lot of people hear a lot of myths about tiger sharks. There is a danger level with any shark, obviously, but these are not baited sharks, so they're not, have a bunch of blood and stuff in the water where they might start looking at you. These are just in their natural habitat. They've seen divers before. They'll swim right by and give you an interesting close look and wake you right up. Large Galapagos sharks. I mean, I've seen Galapagos sharks that were as big as that tiger shark there. Bigger Galapagos sharks here in Cocos, for some reason, they must feed them well. I don't know. But they're a stout shark. They are really
potentially dangerous shark, but luckily they don't like to bother divers.
They just don't. They've had a couple come in on the night dives. They've even had a tiger shark come in on a night dive or two, but it's never been a problem. It's just more they're coming in because they realize there's commotion. They feel it in the water. They know the other sharks are out there trying to eat something, so it's not a big deal.
It's really nice to get that yellow in with the shark. You don't see sharks with a colored school of fish that often.
Yeah, and that was this. I mean, that shot by itself is an okay shot, just kind of a side shot of a shark, but with the fish in it, that really helped make it. Of course, there's a lot of topside stuff going on. It's a 30-plus hour run over there, depending on the currents and the seas, obviously. I've been on many, many trips. I've only had one trip where it was even a little bit rough. There is some swell. If you're prone to seasickness and you take something, great. If you're really prone to seasickness, take 2 of them and take the longest nap that you probably need. De-stress yourself before you get over there. Along the way, there's all kinds of seabirds, boobies, pelicans, what have you. And then there's the dolphins. We've run into dolphins that'll come right up next to the boat. This one's actually, if you look close, I swear to God, he was looking at me as I was taking the picture. So they're quite happy. We've run into pilot whales out there. We've seen sperm whales. We've seen all kinds of things. So don't put your camera away too quick. And then the beauty of Cocos, the topside beauty of Cocos is, well, you can see.
Amazing what 24 feet of rain a year will give you.
It really is. It really is.
Thick jungle.
Yeah, there's waterfalls all around it. Very few beaches. We'll show you a beach picture in a minute.
It reminds me of the west side of the South Island in New Zealand. Waterfalls everywhere.
Yep. Only this is a lot warmer. So while you're there, you will be visited by the rangers. They will come on the boat. They do a little briefing, kind of a pre-briefing, and the crew will do one as well, just to keep everybody in order. You do have to dive with a guide while you're in Cocos. You're not allowed to go running off on your own. That is a park rule, basically. The guides give you a lot of leeway.
That's a good idea, though.
It is.
You don't want to have, you're in the middle of nowhere. You want to have a guide around.
Yeah, and there's tricky currents out there sometimes. So having a guide, knowing which way to go, that way you don't have to worry about it. Just stick with the guide, stick with your buddies. And then it's not like they're going to make you be right next to them. So one of the things they'll have you do is they'll have you come into a beach walk, and you can go up and visit the ranger station. And it's quite interesting just to see how these folks are living. There may even be rangers being shuttled over on the boat with you. They give them free rides, free passage back and forth. We mentioned Costa Rica before, and the beautiful mountainous jungle country that it is.
The wildlife's amazing. Butterflies like I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Poison dart frogs, tree frogs.
Yep. And
monkeys, toucans.
And then there's crazy things to do, like zip lining, which is one of my favorite things. That's a great way to see the rainforest canopy. They have whitewater rafting. You can go over to the East Coast and in Limon and see some of the beaches over there. There's also some pretty fair diving, I hear, up in the Gulf. Much murkier water, but there's just tons of stuff to do. It's a very scenic place. San Jose itself is a good-sized city. It's not huge.
I try not to spend any time there. There's so much outside of it.
Exactly. There's not a whole lot to do in San Jose. Some nice hotels and some good restaurants and things, but you want to come in a day early, make sure your baggage shows and all that kind of stuff. Get a good night's sleep. Meet the man the next day. If you want to play around for a day, there are all kinds of myriad tour companies that will take you out into the mountains to pick you up at your hotel in San Jose. They'll take you on a day trip. You can rent a whole van for 4, 5, 6 people for probably $250.
Tree sloths. I forgot about the sloths. Those are
monkeys,
very cool to see.
Tree sloths, bats, all kinds of things there. It's a really wild place. So the Liveaboards, there are basically 2 fleets that work the island. There's the aggressor / dancer fleet. You've probably heard of the aggressors, been around a long time. Dancer fleet as well. They merge together, and we have the Okeanos aggressor, which has been operating down there for, probably 25 or 30 years or more. And the Wind Dancer, which is a little newer arrival. I've been there about 5 or 6 years at this point. And both of these boats are very, very comfortable, experienced guides. The boats will anchor in the bays, either Wafer Bay or Chatham Bay. And the only moving those boats will do is when they're underway, coming and going to the island. You'll get on smaller launches, pongas they call them, and drive out to the dive site.
And it's pretty calm in that bay there.
The bays are real calm. So if you're worried about the seasickness, once you're into the bay,
nothing to worry about.
No sweat. You can see the interiors of these boats are really well apportioned.
They're big, nice boats.
Yeah, big salons. The beds and the sleeping situations, all of them have en-suite bathrooms. They feed everybody together usually. Quite often your breakfast and your lunches will be a buffet, so you go down the buffet line, and then dinner they'll have a sit-down dinner for you.
And all these boats have really experienced crew. I mean, these are people who just guides of, hundreds and hundreds of dives at Cocos, and they know what they're doing.
Thousands and thousands. And the other thing to keep in mind is these are really good jobs for Costa Ricans. These are great paying jobs. So the people that, the personnel on the boats, the crews, they love their jobs. They really love it. And you can see it in their smiles. Another picture of the Wind Dancer. Big deck areas for in between dives. Generally in Cocos, you do 3 dives a day, and then there's a night dive. They don't like to dive much after about 3 o'clock. So, they want to get everybody in the water for the last dive about 3, and then they'll do a night dive close into shore. It's because the current. If for some reason people drifted off, it could get pretty scary, pretty serious.
You don't want people to be looking for you and then having it get dark.
No, that's not good. Then there's the Undersea Hunter fleet. I've had a lot of experience with these guys as well. They have 3 boats: the Undersea Hunter, which is now their smaller, older boat; the Sea Hunter, which is kind of their medium boat, very well apportioned; and then the Argo, which is their deluxe boat. The Argo is so
high-end boat.
Oh yeah, I've been on it. The Argo is usually the one that has the deep sea submarine, and I've been on the submarine, and that is an absolute thrill ride of your life.
I want to do that sub.
Do it
one day.
Do it. They have different depths and different pricing for the sub. Do it if you get a chance. You probably you don't need to be on the Argo to do the sub. They have special boats for the sub. They'll come over to the Sea Hunter or the Undersea Hunter, whichever of the other boat is there, and they'll ask people if they want to come and do the deep sea. You'll miss at least one dive, if not two, to do the deep end. But
you'll miss a dive to make a dive.
oh my God, it is, and it's a dive you will never forget. It is absolutely crazy down there. They've discovered new species down there. It's neat. And you get a mobula flying over the top of the sub, and you're in this big, huge dome, and it's just incredible. It's hard to describe. Kind of at a loss of words. Some of the interior pictures and some exterior pictures, again, very well apportioned boats. Your comfort is what they're really trying to establish. They realize that they do need repeat business, and they want you to come back. So they do a great job with them. Big decks, large staterooms, desks in all the staterooms.
Yeah, the Argo and the Sea Hunter is a 5-star experience. Food, cabins, everything. I mean,
and even the Undersea Hunter, their older boat, is still so well set up. This was the original boat that went to Cocos, I mean, before anybody else was going out there. Still set up very, very nicely.
We have 2 Cocos trips going on this year. Like Katie said, Katie's running one June 27th, July 7th, and a good friend of mine, really awesome professional underwater photographer from Brazil, Cadu Pinheiro, is running a underwater photo workshop in October 25th and November 4th, which is sort of peak time for the biggest schools of hammerheads. That fall time is when you really get a lot of hammerheads, and Cadu's done a lot of shooting of big animals and sharks, Cocos, Socorro, Galapagos. He gets out there a lot from Brazil, so, and he's a really nice guy. So that's another great trip to go on if you can't make the June one. And we have a couple exclusive webinar specials just for the people who sign up for the webinars. First of all, anyone who's watching a webinar, any Cocos trip you want to go to, we can get you a deal on. But specifically, we're offering right now, exclusively with us, 10% off any trip with the Argo Sea Hunter or Underwater Hunter at any time. 10% off if you book within the next 30 days. That's a really good deal. That's you know,
and that's
$500
also,
to $600 in your pocket.
And that's also good for anybody accompanying them as well, right?
Yep, that's any number of people. Could be small number, 2, 3 people, and if it's more than 2 people, we can probably even do better than that. So definitely email us info@bluewaterdivetravel.com for the best deal. Select Cocos Wind Dancer itineraries. $800 off trips in May, June, July, exclusively through us. So if you want to go to Cocos this year, and if you book in April, you can get $800 off. And if you want to go any other time of the year, just mention the Scott special, and I'll give you $200 off any of the trips, any of the rest of the year. So again, that's only for people who view the webinar.
How much do I get for doing the webinar?
You can get a free trip.
Oh man.
$100 discount off. I don't think 100 is enough. 200. I'll give. If anyone emails me, Scott, the owner, they'll get $200 off any trip to Cocos, anytime, anywhere. If you email anyone else, you'll get $100 off. But we'll hook you up. Don't worry. Cocos is good. Ask us for details. We arrange trips for clubs, dive shops, individuals, couples, whoever you are. We can take care of everything. We can book your airfare. If you want, we can arrange. We know Costa Rica really well and can help you with the Topside activities, which are awesome. I've personally been there many times and know the island, country inside out. You can email us, info@bluewaterdivetravel.com. Visit the website. You can call us. We're always here. We love answering the phone. 310-915-6677. And Q&A, questions and answers. Adam, do you want to read to me some of the questions?
Sure. So
that
we
people
have one from Chris. What type of diving is it normally? Is it drift or is it wall dives, or how would you describe it?
Well, Chris, the diving at Cocos, I guess the way to describe it, it's a little bit of everything. There are definitely wall dives on the seamount.
Seamount diving.
And what happens quite often is there'll be a combination dive. You'll do this seamount, but the seamount's too deep to stay. You run out of bottom decompression time before you run out of air usually, or nitrox. So what they'll do is they'll have you come up off the bottom with the guide and the whole group. They'll get you together at 40, 50 feet, and then they'll drift along for another 10 or 20 minutes, and the pongo will follow you. So you get a wall dive where there's a bottom, and then you get a drift dive on
in the blue water.
Almost every dive. So you're doing blue water dives almost every dive. So
next one kind of goes along with that from Jim. What are the average depths that you dive?
I'd say on the average, you're going to be probably hitting 80 and 90 feet on every dive. Yeah. In order to really get down to where the sharks are, you've got to get down to the deeper thermocline, and that will vary, so that could be 50 or 60 feet sometimes, but most of the time it's going to be 80, 90.
Okay. One from Sasha. Due to all the rain, does the water temperature change much through the year, or does it stay pretty consistent?
The rain has no effect on the water temperature. There's even that's a good question, Sasha. But with as much rain as is coming down, it's logical. But it doesn't seem to have any effect at all. The one thing it will do, Scott was talking about before, was it will create that murky water where the salt and the fresh water are mixing.